All right, let's talk about accounting. When you hear that word, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's, piles of paperwork, complicated spreadsheets, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of boredom. But what if I told you that accounting is actually one of the most powerful storytelling tools any business has? Let's get into it. See, most people think accounting is just this tedious, day in, day out chore of tracking every single penny. And look, while that's definitely a piece of the puzzle, it's kind of like saying that building a Ferrari is just about tightening bolts. You'd be missing the whole point, the bigger, way more exciting purpose. So this is the first thing we've got to get straight, the difference between these two. Think of it like this. Bookkeeping is the what. It's the job of just recording the facts, plain and simple. But accounting, that's the so what. It takes all that raw data and turns it into a story that you can actually use to make really important decisions. To really understand the story, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Long before any big strategy meeting or insightful report, there's just the spark, a single piece of data. This is the world of bookkeeping, and it's the foundation for everything that comes next. So bookkeeping is all about getting the details right. It's the super detailed recording of every single transaction. The goal here is simple. Be accurate, be current, and get everything down. Because without this rock-solid, trustworthy foundation, the whole accounting process would just be a house of cards. To really see how this works, let's follow one simple transaction on its journey. Imagine our business sells $400 worth of goods to a customer, Amigo Limited. But they don't pay cash, they buy it on credit. Seems like a simple little event, right? Well, let's see what happens to that $400. Okay, so our $400 transaction is now leaving the simple world of recording and it's stepping into the accounting process. This is the moment where that raw piece of data starts to get transformed into something much more powerful, meaningful information. And this journey isn't random. It follows a pretty clear path with 6 key steps. It all kicks off with collecting and recording. That's the bookkeeping we just talked about. From there, it moves on to classifying, summarizing, analyzing, interpreting, and finally communicating. We're going to follow our $400 sale through these next few stages to see it in action. And here we go. This is where our transaction starts to get an identity. That $400 isn't just a random number anymore. It's officially classified as revenue. And that money we're waiting for from our customer, that becomes something the business owns, an asset. And it gets the name trade receivables. See? The data's being sorted into these meaningful buckets. In the next step, our single transaction is no longer flying solo. It gets grouped together, summarized, with thousands of other transactions into big picture reports. Our $400 in revenue gets added to the company's income statement, which is the report that helps us figure out the number everyone really cares about: profit. So we've got our summary, we've got our profit number, but this right here is where accounting truly shows its power. The analysis phase is where we stop just looking at what the numbers are and we finally start asking why they are what they are. This is that so what moment we talked about. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at these two businesses. We've got Ian Toys, which made a profit of $50,000, and then we have Yagmore Toys, which made a profit of $150,000. So, let me ask you, which business is doing better? I mean, on the surface, it seems pretty obvious, right? Yagmore Toys made 3 times the profit. It's a no-brainer. Or is it? This is exactly why analysis is so critical. Numbers all by themselves can be incredibly misleading. What if I told you that Ian Toys is a tiny startup that only invested $25,000 to make that profit, while Yagmore Toys is a huge company that invested $5 million? Whoa! All of a sudden, the entire picture changes, doesn't it? Analysis gives us the context we need to make a real comparison. So why do we go to all this trouble to classify, summarize, and analyze everything? Well, it's because this financial story we're creating isn't just for us. There are a lot of different people who need to read it, and they're all looking for very different things. First up, you've got the owner of the business. They're reading the story to check up on the health of their investment. They're asking those big, fundamental questions. Are we growing? Are we making enough money to justify all this hard work and risk? Now, a bank manager might be looking at the exact same story, but they're asking a completely different question. They want to know, is this business stable enough to pay back a loan? They're looking for signs of risk and trying to see if the business has steady cash flow. And hey, remember our customer Amigo Ltd? Well, let's flip the script. If we were their supplier, we'd be called a trade payable. And you can bet we'd be reading their financial story to see if they're a good bet. Our question is simple. If I give them stuff on credit, are they actually going to pay me back on time? And the audience just keeps growing. You've got potential investors who are reading these reports to decide if they want to put their money in. The government needs them to figure out how much tax is owed. And of course, the managers inside the company use them all the time to spot problems and find ways to get better. So we've followed a single transaction from just being a blip on a screen, all the way to becoming a tool used by investors, banks, and managers. Let's wrap this all up with the one big idea you should really take away from all this. At the end of the day, this is it. The real purpose of accounting isn't just to keep a record of what happened in the past. It's to take all that financial data and translate it into a clear story that lets people make smarter, better decisions about the future. So I'll leave you with this thought. The numbers inside any business, whether it's a tiny coffee shop or a giant tech company, are constantly telling a story about its challenges, its triumphs, and its potential. Accounting is simply the language used to tell that story. The only question is, are you listening?